Welcome, everyone. This is a joint workshop organized by Quantum Sensors Challenge Program and CMC Fabric on development of entrepreneurship skills among young researchers, early career researchers that work in the field of quantum. So I am Marina Gertzwolf. I lead the Quantum Sensors program at National Research Council, and I wanted to give you a quick introduction to what we are about before the workshop starts. So I hope everybody knows what NRC is, but as a quick reminder, National Research Council is the largest research and technology organization in Canada. It's composed of 12 research centers, 24 laboratory sites. It has more than 2,000 of scientists, engineers, and technicians working in all different areas, from biology to agriculture to exact sciences and to quantum sciences, of course, as well. So there are the budget is high, the number of experts is high, the facilities are very vast and available for research and collaborative work by NRC and by NRC partners. NRC also has another activity which is called Industrial Research Assistance Program, which some of you who work for private companies may be aware of. This is the program that NRC runs that provides financial support and training and other support to small and medium enterprises, startups, to help them grow and to help them make a bigger impact on the Canadian ecosystem. And that program has a very large grants and contributions budget. It's almost 500 million per year, which is distributed among Canadian small and medium enterprises. So what has happened with NRC Collaborative Research and Development? This is the relatively new initiative that's not related to industrial research assistance. It's just part of the NRC Research Center's operations. The new collaborative R&D projects that started as several programs. They started in 2019 and have been ongoing since that time, and on different programs. They have approximately 43 million a year in grants and contribution support that goes to research partners on collaborative projects in a variety of areas. And so far, well, this data is 1 year, actually almost 2 years old. It's been compiled for 22-23. At that time, it was 100 million total distributed in grants and contributions, with over 700 different R&D projects. You can see that if 2 more years have passed, we are almost 100 million higher in the amount of grants and contributions distributed. So it's very diverse, very generous, and very flexible grants and contributions program that supports collaborative research with NRC. So I will talk to you about Quantum Sensors program. That's one of these funding programs that NRC runs. But we have 2 more programs that are in the quantum domain. So in Quantum Sensors is a program that started in 2021, and it will run for 7 years until 2028. Its goal is to develop disruptive generation of quantum sensors that are orders of magnitude better than sensors that exist today. And this workshop is organized as one of the activities under that program. But we also have other programs, similar ones at NRC, that are running right now. So the program that is called Applied Quantum Computing, that supports commercial and government innovations in quantum algorithms and applied quantum computing, that runs a lot of projects. And we have a new program that is just getting launched next April, and it will be on quantum internetworking. So this will be about connecting quantum computers, connecting quantum sensors in a quantum way, in an entangled way. So these 3 projects might be relevant to the work you guys are doing in your research. So Quantum Sensors Challenge Program is a vision that is to be Canada's global leader in quantum technologies. So for Canada to be a global leader, our challenge, which I already described to you, is to develop the new generation of sensors that are much better, orders of magnitude better than the classical sensors can allow. And the objective is to strengthen the Canadian ecosystem in technology innovation and the advancement of quantum sensing towards adoption and commercialization. And you can see this adoption and commercialization. This is where the entrepreneurship initiatives and collaboration with small and medium companies and startups is key. And we want to encourage these activities among people participating in the program and generally involved with quantum science, and therefore this workshop. So hopefully we'll learn many interesting things in this workshop. So Quantum Sensors program is collaborative with NRC researchers, but it can be, every project can have a different composition. It will always have an NRC participant, but the collaboration can be with academics and small medium business. It can be only academic, it can be international academic, it can be only small business, etc. So it's very flexible. We can have single partner, we can have multiple partners working together to achieve advancement in their research and in their product development together. The program has 3 different themes. It's a semiconductor theme, photonics, and metrology theme, and there are projects that fall under 3 of these themes. And quantum sensors, as you all probably know, it's a very diverse field. There are several platforms that qualifies quantum sensors, and the variety of applications for quantum sensing is vast. It's from mining research to healthcare to secure communication, etc. So these are a little bit of statistics for our program that was collected up to July of this year. We have almost 60 projects that have been launched with more than 80 collaborators, individual collaborators that participate in this project. We have 37 unique partners. I'll show you who they are. And the program value is twice as high as the grants and contributions that we distributed, because organizations contribute, including NRC, contribute in kind to this program. So this has been a very successful collaboration. You can see that we have a very high number of highly qualified personnel, which are undergraduate, graduate, postgraduates, and technical staff, students that are working in academia and industry on projects that are funded through the program. So they themselves are funded through this program, and we have high number of NRC people participating. We have 20 universities, 14 companies, and government organizations. As a result, we have high number of peer-reviewed publications. This number will be updated soon. So this is halfway through the program. We have patent portfolio growing, and we even have startup companies that were launched thanks to the projects that were started with the program. So quickly, who are our collaborators in academia? Here it's divided by the theme. So we have semiconductor theme. You can see all the university collaborators here listed here, and I hope you recognize the logos of your universities. We have quantum metrology and quantum photonics with collaborators as well. And you can see that some universities appear in different themes. That's because they have researchers that work in different areas, and multiple professors participating and collaborating with us. We also have international partners. We also collaborate with companies. Some of them are startups, some of them are more established. Again, under different themes, we have different companies collaborating with us, and you can recognize the names of some of these companies. And I think we'll have presentations during this workshop from some of these companies. We have a lot of successes to tell stories about, and this information is available on NRC website. I invite you all to Google and take a look at the quantum sensor success stories. And these success stories tell you about specific advancements that were made under different projects on developing more sensitive ways to look at the brain activity, to identify cancer cells in tissue, to improve extraction of the recognition of critical minerals in the ore, to improve efficiency of the extraction, etc. So these are very cool success stories that we publish, and I invite you to read them. We also have exceeded on several of our projects the goal of improving by orders of magnitude the capabilities of the quantum sensors compared to classical technology. And here are a few examples related to different technologies that have improvements either in sensitivity or in cost or in time, processing time. There you can see that there are tens, hundreds, or even tens of thousands in orders of magnitude improvement. So tens of, not orders of magnitude, tens of hundreds or 10,000 improvement in the capabilities of the sensors. So this is the program. It's not done yet. We have another 2.5 years going forward, and in the future few years we're going to launch additional projects with a specific focus on position, navigation, and timing sensors, sensors for metrology, chip-based sensors, and sensors with high commercialization potential. So if you have ideas, contact us and let us know. Maybe your projects can become part of this program. And with that, I finish my presentation. I thank you all for joining in this workshop, and I'm looking forward to listening to all the exciting talks today. Thank you.
Thanks, Marina. I have a few minutes quickly before our first speaker of the day, where I'd just like to briefly discuss a little bit about from CMC side. So my name is Luke Vaya. I'm the manager for quantum technologies at CMC Microsystems, and we're really happy today, along with NRC, to be hosting this workshop as part of our Fabric program. So Fabric is a government, or I should say CMC, we're a Canadian not-for-profit, and we have been around for about 40 years. And our focus is really on helping Canadians make the most out of advanced technology developments, as well as pushing the forefront of the R&D in advanced technologies as well. And one way we do that is by managing the Fabric program for ICED, which is a Canadian, or on behalf of the Government of Canada. And that's really about strengthening the capabilities of the Canadian ecosystem in photonics, MEMS, compound semiconductors, and quantum technologies. There's a few ways we do that, like housing, for instance, like co-hosting events like this, but we also deliver funding through the Challenge program to entities, small enterprises, startups, large enterprises as well, to help with both formalizing their process development pipelines as well as launching new products to the market. CMC has a long history in offering design and fabrication tools to our clients. That's something we continue to do through Fabric. Training is a very important aspect of what we do. That's why we're all here today, to hear from experts in entrepreneurship. And then we put on events that generally try to revitalize the ecosystem, both domestically and to strengthen international collaborations. Fabric's a 5-year program, so hopefully you'll be hearing a lot more from us as the years come on. In the quantum sphere, we're really focused on helping Canadian entities take quantum technologies to the market. So that means doing the early stage development, getting buy-in and adoption from end sector users, and helping entities commercialize and create real products out of their fundamental developments and great ideas. And on top of that, we also want to make sure that Canadian companies and researchers are able to make the most of what quantum technologies are out there right now. And that means adopting quantum computing solutions in their business or in their research, and helping to develop products based on available quantum tech. We do that, and we do all of this in a few ways. Briefly, or sort of say, at a high level, lumped into a bucket of training, right, where we focus both on technical trainings to upscale HQP, high-level training for people who are sort of now starting their journey in quantum technologies, want to get a high-level understanding of what's going on, and events like this, which bring a different aspect of what it takes to commercialize technology to our listeners. The other thing is my technical team works a lot on development of applications for quantum computing. And that comes in both sort of helping Canadian entities have access to existing quantum computing cloud services, as well as doing joint R&D and engineering support with startups, SMEs, and academics to really push their great ideas into what is really capable now on current hardware and what will be capable in the future. And then finally, specifically only available to academics, we also have a work on the hardware side with device design and prototyping, both in terms of delivering access to state-of-the-art CAD tools, as well as enabling cost sharing for fabrication of superconducting or silicon photonic devices. So I just want to make two quick advertisements for other events that Fabric and CMC are going to be hosting. The first is in 2 weeks. We're going to have the Build Your Own Superconducting Qubit or Superconducting Quantum Device Workshop. My apologies. And this is co-hosted with IQC, the Institute for Quantum Computing at the University of Waterloo. It will be at IQC in person. And the focus of this workshop is really to give people an idea or a detailed understanding of how to design, simulate, and test superconducting devices using contemporary CAD tools. There will actually be an associated fabrication run with this. It's not mandatory, but it's an option. And in the middle of this week, on the 22nd, we're going to have a networking day, the Wednesday, and that's really going to bring the local quantum ecosystem to Waterloo and broadly across Canada. Actually, we have people coming from all over to discuss the latest and greatest in quantum technologies, and we'll have a packed set of panels on that day as well. If you're interested, please see the link here. Reach out to me or anyone else on the team. It would be great to see you there. And then finally, here we go. Finally, this November, CMC and Fabric are hosting Accelerated, Canada's Semiconductor Symposium. This is a 2-day event in Vancouver, which will really be highlighting the amazing developments over the last year in Canada's semiconductor industry, with a strong focus on quantum technologies and photonics. There's also associated training opportunities with this for people who make high-level decisions, both in photonics and quantum technologies. And then perhaps most relevant to, I think, the majority of this audience today is the Texpo Graduate Student Research Competition. And so this is an annual competition for cash awards of up to over $15,000 in prize money. There's multiple categories. Quantum technology is one of them, but generally speaking, all of the advanced technology that CMC works on is one of the categories for these awards. The application deadline was extended to the middle of this month. So if you have work in quantum algorithms or quantum computing that you think is award worthy, and I'm sure you do, please don't hesitate to send out an application. And if you want more information, of course, reach out to me. How do you do that? Well, I'll just end by flashing the quantum team at CMC and my contact information. And I look forward to hearing from you for any of your questions or thoughts. So that's it from me. And I will just say, again, thank you to all of the speakers today and ahead of time for agreeing to give us all your perspectives on entrepreneurship in quantum technologies. Thank you to the attendees for taking your time to be here. It's, of course, really you who are going to be shaping the ecosystem that we are all so invested in. And I would like to also send my thanks to my co-organizers from NRC, Phil and Marina, for all the countless hours of work that you all also put in this. And of course, I'd like to acknowledge my colleague Brent, who's behind the scenes doing all the complicated technical work to make sure this runs smoothly. With that said, I will just very, very briefly introduce each of the speakers today. So the format for all of you online will be about 20 minutes of presentation from the speakers, followed by 10 minutes of questions. Please use the Q&A if you would like to enter questions, and I will read them out to the speakers once the question period starts. So with that, I'll kick us off. And we have first on the docket is Sarah Jenna from QV Studio, who will be telling us about building a quantum future, one startup at a time. So Sarah, please take over, and thank you all.
Thank you, Luc. Very happy to be presenting today. Do you see my screen? Yes, good. Excellent.
Yes, all good.
Excellent. I think I'm going to be talking about like what we do at QV Studio, but I think that everything like I'm going to tell about today is more general about how to build a quantum startups and what are the different steps, what are the different challenges that you meet also during this path, and that we tried actually to address in our mission of the studio. So the idea of creating a startup builder, which is QV Studio, was initiated a few years ago while building the innovation zone of Sherbrooke district, and came from a realization made by VCs, Quantonation and Quantaset, together with Institut Quantique and people applying, that has actually got this provincial, actually Quebec money to build the innovation zone. And this realization is the fact that it is very challenging to create a quantum startup. And it is naturally extremely challenging to create a university spin-off in general, in every field. But the additional challenges in quantum is, first of all, that innovator in this field, they dedicated their life to fundamental research first. And then they are very, very far from application in their mindset and in their research. And also that because quantum is an horizontal technology, it's pretty new. And then finding an application could be in every vertical, in every industry. And then it's in an additional difficulty here. So it was very clear that we needed a startup builder, which is a manufacturer of startup, to be able actually to professionalize somehow how to build these quantum startups. So startups that are aligning their applications in priorities of government, in real market needs, and using amazing quantum technologies developed in Canadian universities. So where is the quantum startup builder in the continuum of developing a startup? So we know incubators, we know accelerators actually in our field, but studios, to our knowledge, were very, very few in the world, and to the best of my knowledge, we're the only one in Canada. So the studio is really an entity that will spend a lot of time pre-incorporation, so like taking the technology and really identifying the application, assembling the team, incorporating the company, and de-risking it to a certain level together with accelerators that will be working in parallel to us. And after transitioning smoothly as possible this startup from the studio to incubators that will allow them to continue their development. So that's where we are. Now, what are like the different ways we're building startup? And this is actually the different ways that a quantum startup is built, I think today, with or without us. So the first one, and this is today the majority of the project that we're launching per year, are the tech push strategy. This is a strategy where you are working with university and IP valorization organizations to identify great quantum innovations, hardware, mostly hardware, I will tell you, but we go in everything from quantum computing, quantum sensors, quantum communication, and also quantum enabling technologies that are like a big part of, or a significant part also of startup that we need to build a strong quantum ecosystem. So this means that we are identifying IP, we're identifying innovators, we're talking with researchers, we're trying to identify within this team a student, postdoc, research associate that is interested by entrepreneurship. And we are like starting the work with them. We have also two additional ways to identify innovations. The first one is partnership with quantum computer companies that will have done some proof of concept in different verticals, but that are not necessarily interested to push this into creating a commercial aspect of this. So they are, in this case, interested to spin off this to create independent startup that will become their customers. What we're doing also recently is licensing IP from quantum companies, sensor, for example, that are commercializing an application of their sensor in a certain vertical or group of vertical, but that cannot actually do it in every vertical. so that we're licensing their sensor or IP to repurpose basically this sensor in other vertical and create other companies. So we're launching per year 5 to 6 projects. The application for that is open, and I encourage, if there is in the attendees people that have amazing quantum technologies, you still have 20 days to apply to QV Studio. So just contact me. You'll have my email at the end of the presentation. The other approach to create a company is really more starting with the market unmet need. So is there a need actually in the market that could be met and could be actually addressed with quantum technologies? So for that, we are partnering with a lot of different organizations that are connected with big organizations, small organizations, government orientation, and etc., to identify these needs. And from these needs, we're also filtering out everything that is not a quantum opportunity, because of course, quantum is not magical and it cannot do everything very well. So, and also that rank them in terms of temporality. You have some opportunities that will be sooner and some a little bit later in the path of developing quantum technologies. Once we have identified that, we have 2 tasks that are very demanding, that are finding field experts. And for that, we're reaching out to a lot of organizations that are not doing quantum yet, but that have developed something amazing in a specific vertical. I'll give an example of, and this is a first market pool strategy that we use for one of the first company we incorporated, Cuminex. We found 2 mining exploration experts doing mining exploration for 15 years that has amazing AI algorithm, so classical, and that were facing some challenges and thinking that maybe quantum can help. And then they reach out to us. We identify quantum algorithm expert to work with them as part of the studio. They made their proof of context in the studio, and then they actually demonstrated that that was an opportunity in quantum in this space. And then we incorporated Cuminex, which is our AI and quantum algorithm company for mining exploration. We're doing also market pool for sensors. As I told you, they are like sensors that are used in certain vertical that we might want to readdress and repurpose in other vertical. So if you have developed sensors, or if you already have a company that is developing sensors, maybe contact us to see whether we can create a new line of revenue for you by creating a spin-off that will be associated to your company. Okay, so once you have the technology, you have the initial founding team, that is, or at least the CTO, future CTO of your company, you need to find an organization or different organization that will help you to create that. And what's the proposition here of QV Studio is a very long support. So we are supporting our team for 3 years through a path composed of 4 different programs. We're providing a lot of time, so 1,000 hours per team. During the first year, which is pre-incorporation, this is a little bit more than 150 hours of training, coaching, and education. This helps quantum physicists to become entrepreneurs, then, and also to identify, and I will go on that, a lot of things actually to make sure that we have an opportunity to create a company in there. And then more than 800 hours of consultancy during year 2 and year 3, which represent providing a CFO, an accounting team, a marketing communication team, a lot of different consultants in governance, in HR, in IP, and etc. that is required for the company to develop. We're also investing, and we're co-investing with our 2 VC partners, Quantaset and Quantonation. I know probably all of you guys know who are they. Quantaset is the Canadian Quantum Fund, and Quantonation is probably the biggest fund in quantum in the world. That is a French fund. So together, we're investing between $400K to $2.4 million during the 3 years in equity, during the 3 years of the curriculum at QV Studio. And this money the program is built so that this money, this money is optimally used to leverage grants. So within the first phase of the first investment, which is a little bit less than 500K, all our team, they are able to apply to more than $1 million grant to increase their cash flow. We're also helping to provide access to infrastructure and technological services throughout Canada. We're negotiating rebates and partnership with a lot of different organizations. CNC, 3IT, other platform in Calgary, in Alberta, in Waterloo, in Sherbrooke, in Montreal, name it. This is very important and critical actually for particularly the hardware, but also we can help through our partners, CNC being one, Pink being another one, to provide access or to help providing access through these organizations to different quantum computers for those that are developing quantum algorithm. The fact that Quantaset and Quantonation are investing very early into the startup has a two very positive impact. The first one is credibility. They are quantum savvy VCs. They know what they are doing, they understand, and they know every startup in the quantum space. So when they decide to do an investment in a company, this is a very, very good signal that this company has something very special. And this is providing a lot of credibility to this company. Another thing is that we are working end-to-end, we are working actually with these VCs to guide our startup. So a lot of the time when you're developing a startup, you're always guessing what the VCs want because they are not necessarily working with you. So here we don't guess. Basically, the VCs, these two VCs are working and meeting our teams every month for the 3 years of the curriculum, almost, so that they can guide them and they can basically explain them what they want to see. And this allows our startup to be very efficient in execution. Finally, we're partnering with Quantum Hub, starting with District, but also having like a very great agreement and relationship with all hubs in Vancouver, in Calgary, in Waterloo, to use these hubs to create partnership opportunities to our startup. These hubs, they are like magnets. They are attracting big organizations that want to integrate quantum technologies. So this is helping startups in the studio to get great partnership opportunities. Okay, so now what is the path and what are like the different steps? And these different steps, we organize them in 4 programs, but these are, if you're developing your startup without us, this is basically the steps that you will have to follow basically to develop your startup. So usually we start with companies that are at TRL3. TRL3 for us means that you don't have a prototype built yet, but that you have very strong proof of concepts for every part of this future prototype. During the Validate program, we take the future CTO, which is a student or postdoc or research associate, and we're paying them a fellowship so that they can concentrate full-time with us for 4 months. And usually they aid us for one month at least of this program because we extract them from the lab. So they will not be in the lab for these 4 months. They will be basically talking to people. They will have to talk to between 50 to 100 people that are their potential future customers, stakeholder, partners, etc. Why? Because this interview will help them to validate hypotheses supporting 3 to 4 different business models for 3 to 4 different applications of their technologies, of their technology that we are identifying with them. After these 4 months, basically we validate that indeed the candidate might be a great entrepreneur in the future or not. Most of the time, half the team are like abandoning it after a month. But for the second half, usually we have very great team that are ready actually to go to the next phase, which is the plan program. So that's another full-time 4-month program. During this program, they will work with the MBA student that will help them to build a very detailed 36-month plan for the business model that we'll have identified and the application that we'll have identified during the Validate program. During this time, we are introducing them with a lot of great entrepreneurs that are looking for new opportunities and that could be great co-founders for them. And hopefully we find a match by the end of this program. During this program, they have also a technological milestone to reach, which is basically our way to do a scientific due diligence in validating that they are indeed able to execute something in a limited amount of time, but also to de-risk some part of the technology that we find particularly risky before investment. In November, they have a demo day. They're presenting they have a scientific presentation with our scientific committee, who is composed of quantum specialists that are also business people. And if everything goes well, they are recommended for investment to our investment committee. And by mid-November, they should know whether they get the first between $400,000 to $500,000 of investment. We're incorporating the company before December. They get the money before December. And in January, they are starting full-time, paid by the company, and implemented the plan that they have planned during the plan program. During the second year, the build program, they should move from tier 4, meaning like prototype building, to prototype benchmarking, tier 5. They will have also a business milestone, which is typically getting a first end user partner for co-development, depending on the business model. And then they will go, when they reach this milestone, they will raise $1 to $2 million that will be led or co-led by Quantaset and Quantonation. At the end of this, they're moving to the launch program. At that stage, they should deploy their minimal viable product into receiving environment or starting working with the partner. This is at the stage where they are going also to different accelerators, CDL, Chi Venture Accelerator, all the kind of accelerator that are more like aligned with their business model and vertical of their product. And this is at that stage where we're transitioning them towards incubators that will help them actually to raise a $5 to $10 million seed round. So that's the program. I wrap this and move to the question saying that QV Studio is not alone. We are the Canadian startup builder supported by Quantonation, who aim to support 5 venture studios in the world. We're the first one of this. Then there is a second one, which is Quantum Italia in Italy, and the Quantum Launchpad. We have several activities together as an alliance of venture studio, which is international pitch events. This year, we're hosting it in Sherbrooke. The teams from Italy and France, they are coming to us to pitch in November. So if you're interested, just contact me to register to attend, actually, and to watch these presentations. They will be streaming on YouTube. We're also sharing a database of advisors, mentors, instructors in between members of the Alliance, and also organizing international mobility program for our startups in the different areas where the studios are. And that's it. Here are my email. Please don't hesitate to contact me for any questions on anything I presented, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
We'll move on to the next speaker. You David Ralston from Axonal Networks, who will be telling us about a startup's journey, the highs and lows, and the courage to try. So David, please take over whenever you're ready.
All right. Hi, everyone. This might be a little bit of an unusual presentation. Let's see. And to allow something. Do you guys see the screen?
I can see your screen. Now it's in full screen mode.
Full screen. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, this is probably a bit of an unusual presentation. It's really a trip down a memory lane for me. I tried to squash it into 20 minutes. I hope I did an okay job there. I'll just launch in then. I got to say though, having someone like Sarah being able to offer this type of encouragement to new entrepreneurs and people right out of university would have been really helpful when I started mine. So this is not a quantum play. This is more of just a photonics play at this point, but it's I think just really the story that could be interesting to you. So this is a snapshot of the NASDAQ Composite Index starting in 1992 and all the way up to about 2011. I don't know a lot about NASDAQ and shares and things like that, but up is good and bad is down, and that's about it. So I'm going to use this as a template moving forward to kind of track the progress. So I did my degrees at McGill University during the 90s, master's and PhD. You see this lovely blue thing going all the way up, rising way up. By the way, NASDAQ is basically the tech stocks of the world, mostly tech stocks. It was great in this year, in this decade, because there was a lot of funding. Photonics and optics were going crazy. Everybody was getting funding, and the industry people really cared about what we were doing in the lab. So that's Professor Dave Plant at McGill in the middle. We're doing neat technologies and microchips and optical assemblies and lenses and all these great things. We thought we were going to change the world, and it was a really innovative time. In that time, just in 1999, maybe these numbers are a little bit pale in comparison to the trillion-dollar companies of today, but at the time they were pretty incredible amounts of investment, $2 billion of VC investment in North America. Companies like Nortel had bought photonic MEMS switch, Kairos, for $3.25 billion. Corning, market value of sending out all this optical fiber at $30 billion market caps. So it was a really awesome time for money moving in the tech sector. Off to work I went. After my degree, I worked for a French company called FCI from the Framatome group. We were going to break ground and make a new photonics, a photonics laboratory. You can see the picture of the ground, and they're building out more of a space for us on the existing 300,000 square foot plant. And then as that got done, we were able to buy all kinds of great equipment and optical tables and cool machines. And yeah, so we had an eye on making optical type components and devices, but with attached as a satellite to a very large production and manufacturing site. They were obviously really interested in where we could go for production. But there was a small problem. There was a thing called telecom bubble collapse, or the crash of tech stocks in late 2001. There'd been corrections in the market. Weird things were happening, like Nortel announced a shortfall. The biggest problem with this basically was that we were providing lots of optical components. The world was building a lot of optical components and fibers and EDFA amplifiers and all that sort of thing, but there weren't really any apps. So there wasn't really an iPhone, there wasn't really much of a computers on the internet kind of thing, and so we had a lot of infrastructure with nothing really to do in it. So by the end of about 2 years, the facility closed. They brought all their stuff back to France, and I was sitting there with colleagues in a giant empty building with the good, the bad, and the ugly playing on the speakerphones, which, if you know that song, it's kind of, I don't know, hollowing inside. So, but at that point, we decided, well, hell with it. We'll make our own company, and we'll get some kind of financing. And with the help of McGill and one of the research branches in McGill called CITR, we pitched our idea of optical transceivers to Novatech here in Quebec. and went well, was great talk, and they suggested a whole bunch of neat things and said, fix A, B, and C and come back to us later. So we did. We fixed the things. We came back, but the trouble was that the crash had not stopped crashing, so it kept on falling. This environment, and when we went to go to Innovatech, we told basically, go away. We're not investing in you. And then the funny thing is that VCs tend to keep their money in the stock market as well. So it's not like they were sitting on a bag of cash. When the stocks were heading down, they were also heading down. They had to try to recapitalize, and they had to try and consolidate and figure out how to get out of this problem themselves. But on the off chance, the partner there, he handed us a business card from a person at Innocent, which is in downtown Montreal. CEO is Claude Martel. It was a Canadian incubator at the time in the early 2000s, and incubator was probably a lot less than what Sarah has mentioned about what her group does. But at the time, there wasn't sort of a motivation that Canada or Quebec really had. It was just, if you were an entrepreneur, great, try this. But we signed up as a company within the incubator. You had to go through a pretty big process, and they took 15% of the company, and we owed them now $300,000. But they provided legal and admin and business plan training. So if you're a PhD out of a tech area, you probably don't know a lot about this other stuff. It's probably a good idea to get some help there, unless you have time to go do an entire MBA as well. But I got to say, it was probably the scariest signature that I had ever done, at least up to that point. So you kind of commit yourself to doing this, and it was good at the time. It was a good thing to do. So we pitched, we rejigged the idea from what we started with Innovatech, and we pitched the idea again, and again and again and again. So we went about a year and a half of putting roughly 88 different versions of PowerPoints together, about 19 versions of financial spreadsheets together, lots of input from coaches and all that sort of thing. And remember, we were still in a terrible financial crisis in terms of tech at the time. So it took a while before we were able to finally find a venture capitalist. But these are the kind of images. I'm almost embarrassed to show what they look like now. Like looking back, I thought, oh my God, it's like my 4-year-old daughter drew the pictures and everything. But that's sort of resources that we had. But finally, in June of 2003, we put together a small syndicate, and we got $750K over 3 tranches, about a year and a half or 2 years. And the weird thing is that during the signing, there was a huge thunderstorm over the South Shore, and we were looking from the CIBC building south. And every time I would put my name down on a piece of paper, there'd be a big thunder crack in the back. So I was not quite sure what that meant, but that was weird. So we started Reflex Photonics. We changed our name from Lighthouse to Reflex. Lighthouse had been used in literally a million places, but we found a fairly unique name in Reflex. Then we kind of got started. We were a basement startup. In California, you'd say the garage startup. So Montreal, it's a bit cold to be in the garage, so you're in the basement. This is a still photograph from a video clip I took of my basement, and all the bits of junk in there. And of course, I had my wife basically supporting me, and my brand new baby daughter, Dakota, who's now much older. So it was a ragtime, weird, crazy time, but it was fun. So at that point, the economy was slowly starting to get better. We saw some Nortel, although it ended up going bankrupt, had managed to clear its inventory, which was good, and people were not so unhappy with the word photonics or optics. People weren't getting so grumbly about it. And so we had to build our team, and the first one we had to hire was a CEO. So kind of weird, because if you're the founders of your idea and you think, you know, you're the thing, to be told by the venture capital people that you needed to hire your own CEO was kind of weird. But we were they weren't gonna give a bag of money to quote unquote kids from university, so they wanted a gray-haired guy. My apologies to all the gray-haired guys in the audience, but they needed some adult supervision. So we hired one from guy from the United States who had run other companies. And we took a office tower lab, which is sort of weird because it was basically a place where you'd expect an accounting company, but we were gluing and polishing and whatever, testing bits and pieces up on the 6th floor of an office right off of Sherbrooke in downtown Montreal. Good bit of engineers and scientists that put together to try and concept our new parts, our new ideas. And yeah, and when we moved, we could go easily to the universities and use some of their equipment under service contracts, which was very helpful too. So universities can play a huge part in helping startup companies get forward, move forward. Thought happy days were here, but we really had no idea what we were doing. We were a bunch of you know, scientists and PhDs who had never really seen full out production and commercialization of things in the first place. It was sort of the beginning of what I call my baptism of fire MBA, because I started to have to learn a lot about, you know, business and loans and debentures and shares and all these things. So it was fun, a little bit chaotic, but fun. And then of course I had my second baby daughter, Kaleska, and that was fun too, but just added to the craziness. One little aside I'll say is that I think this is an interesting point of view that I think I made lots of mistakes in the past, and maybe one of the bigger ones was this idea of stealth mode. It's this big top secret idea that you shouldn't tell anybody because it's really, really important and you don't want anyone to steal it. To find out that later in the life of the company, because you hadn't really tried or didn't think you should explain who you were and do cool marketing or outreach, basically nobody knows who you are. So that's a big problem. You need to have people, I'm not saying you have to tell everybody your secret sauce, but certainly have to go and promote yourself so that in the eventuality that you'll get to products, you already have some people out there in the world who know who you are, and you don't just sort of stare at the telephone and it's not ringing, as it were. Basically, you know, sales is what the lifeblood of any company is. So I know science and technology and your super cool quantum ideas are incredibly important, but the lifeblood of the company is money. And it sounds really simple. You know, you get customers and you get sales and you make deliveries and you make revenue. Yeah, it's easy, but it's really, really hard too. So you need to find people who are willing to go out there, you know, business development, salespeople, pound the pavement, try and get people to understand what you're doing, why it's good. Those are my two kind of promo slides of advice. So anyway, at this point, we had got enough people in the company. We thought we could kind of make products. The VCs actually on year 4 kind of looked at me and said, so how about some products? Are we going to do any, or is this just for fun? And we kind of buckled down and said, okay, yeah, we got to do some products. And so we kind of got out of an R&D mode and started building some stuff. So with that, though, we needed more money. And so we went back to the till and asked investors and tried to get new investors to put some money in. The little graph on the lower right will appear several times. As you go to the till and you ask for more money, your equity tends to decrease. So the idea is to try and get out what Sarah said about, you know, 5 to 7 years sort of thing. That's a good amount of time and everyone will be happy. But in my case, it was many, many, many years. So this equity kind of kept on going down every time we went to the till. But it's okay. At that point, we had sort of built up some products. We actually did some MSA, multi-source agreement type products on the top. QSFPs and Snap 12s were a big thing back then. And then also this sort of futuristic idea of doing optical IC packaging, which ironically was just basically about 18 years too early, because the big rage right now is what's called CPOs, chip package optics, and basically they're optics inside of an IC package. But the markets in 2005, 2006 were not really ready or needed that type of technology back then. So although I think we had a good idea, we were too early in the market to really get any adoption there. Fast forward today, I probably would have been a billion-dollar company by now. Who knows? But anyway, we continued with the transceivers, which looked like a good market. We needed to get to what we thought was real production. So not just some bits and pieces in the lab and some samples to some, friendly customers, as it were. We need to get to a Series A financing, and we needed some real investment. So we did. We found a wonderful group in Quebec City called Fiel Succès and Noël Dubé, and they were interested in getting the idea further into a manufacturing kind of setting. We were still only like 12 people, so I was fooling myself thinking that at 12 people I could figure out how to get to manufacturing with these parts. But ignorance can be bliss sometimes. You just keep on going and don't know what you're really into. But again, the chart keeps on staircasing itself down. But it was okay. It was like, no, we're going to be big. Yeah, exactly. Very good, Sarah. So there's another little hiccup in the ups and downs. So at the moments before we had this new investor from Quebec City, my co-founder decided to play chicken with the investors, which basically meant he said, make me the CEO and give me more shares or I quit. So as a co-founders of the same idea, one of them saying I'm quitting if I don't get a better position would normally have really jeopardized this next investment, which we really didn't need to have. So basically we decided, yep, well, goodbye, and he left, leaving me hold the bag. But I kind of had to pledge my blood, sweat, and tears to the venture going forward, and they were all kind of put at ease, I suppose, and so they still did the investment. So you can, have people in your company sometimes that have other motivations, and you got to deal with that too. In the end, it wasn't too bad, but we also, right after the investment, because it was actually heading towards 6-ish years, there was the idea of maybe we could just get acquired. So we thought about getting acquired from a German company. It turned out more like the German company wanted to get access to our investors. So they said, we'd be interested in acquiring you as long as your investors come with it and put more money in. So it was a little bit of a wishy-washy. We're not sure who's owning who, but that was difficult to support because we were trying to support like 7 different product ideas with 12 people. And that's really hard to do. So don't bite off more than you can chew either, which was, we were biting off way more than we could possibly chew. And then another crash happened, which was the 2008. Yeah, absolutely. The 2008 housing market crash. We changed CEOs. We were fed cash in 2-week installments from our VCs. We fired 8 of our 12 staff. That was really not fun, because especially thought we were kind of getting out of the wishy-washy stuff by then, but whatever, that's what life happens. But we had to go back for more money again, of course. So we actually found a debt financer, basically a loan shark, And we also so got through that. And one little thing I'd say is that you probably shouldn't get any loans from anybody until you actually are making revenue. So we did a bad thing here by taking a loan that you needed to pay off with interest without actually having any revenue. We were just sort of hoping that, well, we'll get to a Series A, and then that'll solve everything because we'll pay off the loans and we'll continue. But yeah, when the loans come due, they say, "Where's our money?" Or "Where's all your IP and everything?" And we were just going to take it. So we replaced that, luckily, with our main investors, and we got rid of that. And then we got another investor who was even worse than the loan shark. So that'll be a entirely different story for another day. But we got through that. We had a new beginning because we had this sort of Series A thing. It wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was enough to get us sort of a little bit more stable. It was like a phoenix from the ashes. That's the phoenix. And we kind of started up again, but this time a little bit more in a bigger place. We moved to a larger location and had a little bit more equipment. Not a huge amount, but more equipment. We got up to about 15 people as a critical mass. And we really started trying to push sales opportunities at that point, which we probably should have done 3 or 4 years before, but whatever, live and learn. We did a product portfolio of a lot of different things. Some things fell flat, some things went really well. We ended up being able to sell about $2.5 million of CFP transceivers to Cisco and a few other big companies. So that gave us a little bit of momentum. And we also had to hire manufacturing people. So not so much scientists anymore. So you actually find in your company as you go along, the people at the very beginning of the company might not be the same people at the end of the company, just because of the thought processes and what you need to do. It's also entirely dependent on your type of company too. So, I mean, we were heading towards manufacturing, but which needed different types of thinkers. We had to go get a Series B now because we had got the new place, we got a few more people, we got some products, we got some sales, but now you still need more money to launch yourself into a next level. And this was a huge challenge. So there's a very difficult thing in Quebec and in Canada is that we're very good on the very beginnings, the seeds and the Series A's. And then we start having this kind of fuzzy, difficult problem between Series B's and getting yourself into, an SME type size of company. And so you have to be very cognizant of this as you grow, and that there is a funny looking barrier that you need to get over. But somehow we managed to do that. We actually had a really helpful thing, and that we leveraged a key customer's interest, was Raytheon at the time. And we were able to convince more venture capitalists within Quebec and Canada that this was a real thing, that Raytheon really wanted to go for these parts. And honestly, the last line on a misunderstanding, we actually had transmitted a data sheet that was more favorable, let's say, than it really was. The parts actually ended up being, but we thought that we were okay because there was a big word draft across it on every page of the watermarks, but apparently that didn't matter. Nobody read the word draft, and they put down, they started qualifying our parts. So we ended up having to bend over backwards in every possible way for this company to do every single piece of testing they ever could have imagined doing for the reliability that they needed. And that included anything from temperature variations to radiation proofing to whatever. So we built a company based on testing and verification of optical transceivers instead of just high volume of datacom commercial parts. So we put a lot of effort into making sure the parts were really, really well built. And that actually ended up being a very good niche area for Reflex. We continued on, so we got investment then through the ones we had, and then BDC and Fond FDQ helped support us to get to a production level state. And we also changed CEOs again. And then in that production state, we took a building in the West Island of Montreal and started, because we had no choice but to try and build everything A to Z, all our parts. So from receiving parts and machining parts and to all the way through building them with wire bonding and flip chip and all the cool things to assemble, all the way to test, and then final shipping as an OEM. So A to Z parts for Reflex. And you see over this 19-year-ish trend, Dave's ownership just kept on going down and down and down and down. So mostly the venture capital owned the company, but it was now, a company of about 75, 80 people, working well, a lot of good contracts. We had engineering department, reliability labs, production departments, optical labs. We had all the accounting. We had field application engineering. Everybody, like a little mini big company, as you were, as an OEM. And then in 2019, we got acquired by Smiths Interconnect in the UK, and they still sell the same types of transceivers, even more. They're still located about 80 or so people in the West Island, mostly all in manufacturing. I stayed for about 15 months with the acquiring company, but after that, we kind of just parted ways. I wasn't really able to fit in with a production type mentality that they had, but no hard feelings there. So that was when I started company number 2. So now I'm on Axonal Networks. I've had this company going for about 4 years now. This is super short. Our areas of interest are the data centers, AI, and of course quantum as well. We are not particularly a quantum company, but I think we can serve that market really well in terms of our interconnect ideas. So we're based a lot on our base technology is ring modulators and silicon photonics. So we have a lot of work going on with that in terms of transceivers and other things. And then, but I think where our biggest thing will be, and I remember I've been thinking about this for a couple of decades. So this is a new architecture of how to interconnect everything, interconnect all our machines together. It's still an embryonically small idea. It's got a lot of university researchers and things that are helping me, and we have now we're about 15 people today. But I think as we work through our future of network switch architectures, this could be really cool. And that's it. Thank you so much. So let me have it. Let me ask all the weird questions or none at all, whatever you like. Thank you for listening to me, by the way. Thanks, David. That was a really inspiring talk, I will say. And it was really nice of you to take us through, I think, as the chat is saying, your ups and downs and your whole story. I hope everyone appreciated it. So up next, we have David Yiptong from QAI Ventures, who's going to tell us about accelerators and early stage investment. So from one David to the other, I pass it over to you, David.
Awesome, thank you. I do have to ask David Rolston a question. Was your office in the old Targray building?
Oh, yeah, that is exactly it, David. Yeah, that
was
exactly the place. So David worked in that same building before I got to it. That's hilarious. I know David, we know each other fairly well from a long time.
I saw the picture of the building and I had a seizure. That's how I knew it was. That's how I knew it was the building.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay. I want to thank everyone, the CMC team and the NRC team, for inviting me to do this. My name is David Yiptong. I am with Kai Ventures Canada, and if you haven't heard of Kai Ventures Canada, it is a collaboration between Kai Ventures, which I'll get into a bit later, but they're based out of Switzerland. They invest in early stage quantum startups. It's a partnership between them and the Quantum City at the University of Calgary. Quantum City is an initiative from the U of C to help encourage the adoption of quantum solutions. If you do go on Quantum City's website, you'll see that they're actually having an event at the start of November which is called QConnect, which is a conference. It's a non-tech conference around quantum. I tell people there's no math in it, but it's really about the discussion about use cases with industry. How do we get quantum solutions into the hands of the users? So just a bit of background on myself. I am not a quantum scientist. And if I claim to be, David Rolston would call me out right away because he knows what my background is. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I spent a long time in telecommunications. So everything that David Rolston was talking about, the companies, the acronyms, were also giving me seizures, which is why my camera was off the whole time. Uh, uh, David and I spent a lot of time on the train between Central Station and De Montagne to the Roxborough train station. That's how we know each other. So it's actually great to be on a presentation with him. So my background is telecom. When I moved out to Calgary, I did my MBA at the U of C. I tell everybody that I did a 6-month sentence in oil and gas, which was great, but I learned a lot. And but after that, I ended up in tech transfer. And from there, that's where the sort of entrepreneurial journey kicked in, and the tech commercialization story kicks in, where we were evaluating technologies that were coming out of the University of Calgary for spin-out potential, to create spin-out companies out of them. So you can imagine there's a lot of market research, there's a lot of understanding of the needs of industry to understand to evaluate whether a technology could actually sustain the weight of a company on top of it. So that's where I come in. Kai Ventures is a group out of Switzerland, and they got started with it's sort of a transformative investment by a family office where they invested 700 million Swiss francs to help reindustrialize Switzerland as they saw it, and particularly for their hometown of Basel to sort of bring it forward in technology. So they really focused on quantum as an area of focus. They've redeveloped a tech park just outside of Basel, where they have I believe still right now is Europe's only privately held quantum computer. There's an IonQ machine on the main floor of that. And they also started Kai Ventures to sort of get the ecosystem going and to help support the ecosystem. So Kai Ventures will support, as you see in this diagram here, will support the ecosystem from early on and up until scale up. You've heard from Sarah at QV Studio. What she does there is very, very much helping you get out of the lab. And the Kai Ventures Startup Program is really once you've established your company. Once you've incorporated your company and you're trying to move forward and grow your company, that's where we really sort of can play a part in your journey. So they also do invest in companies outside of their accelerator program. If you go to the Kai Ventures webpage, you'll see a listing of their portfolio companies. They are actually raising a second venture fund currently. So once that closes, they'll be looking at making investments as well. So Kai Ventures was building their product in Calgary, in Basel, their solution. They had run through 2 accelerator cohorts in Basel, and then they came to Calgary. And they realized that there was an opportunity with the commitment that the University of Calgary has made to quantum, and with the growing tech sector in Calgary and in Alberta, to establish some North American headquarters. For those of you who don't know, the University of Calgary has made a huge commitment to quantum. They're actually onboarding 16 new academic staff in the field of quantum. So they're making a huge push in that area. And I'm sure a lot of you know or have heard of Barry Sanders. He is the scientific director for Quantum City and is a real driver behind that. So in terms of Kai Ventures and the work that we do, again, it's there to support companies all through the journey. I'll talk about the accelerator program, but I want to talk about what we just did last weekend, which is we had a hackathon here in Calgary last weekend, and these are all the participants. And it was a great sort of demonstration of quantum and quantum in Canada. We had a group of students travel in from Sherbrooke to participate in this. We had mentors and experts as well from Sherbrooke. We had a team from the University of Saskatchewan drive into Calgary for this weekend, and they're the mentor from the University of Saskatchewan flew, but the team drove, and yeah, everyone had a great weekend. There were 4 challenges. I believe 3 of the challenges were actually sourced from industry. So some of the work that Quantum City is doing to encourage adoption is working with industry, and a couple of the challenge questions actually came from industry sources. So we had this group of people here on the weekend. They had a great time. I think it shows again what I mean by how representative it is of quantum is that when you start talking about a quantum startup, you'll realize really quickly that unlike other tech startups, quantum startups have to go international pretty much from day one. You'll see quantum startups doing travel that most tech startups would never ever have to worry about, because you need the collaboration, you need the relationships, and there isn't a big enough quantum market in anybody's home location to sustain a company going forward. You need to be making those relationships and building those relationships really, really, really early on. So that's a key aspect of your thoughts if you're thinking about commercializing the work you're doing, the research you're doing through your grad studies, or creating your own quantum startup. That's something to think about. It is very different from a tech startup in that way. So with that, there's a lot of support. And like I said, the fact that you had all these participants traveling in from across the country is representative of quantum, and also the mentors coming in. That level of collaboration that you're going to see is really inspiring. And I think as a Canadian quantum ecosystem, that is something that we really need to lean into, because let's face it, we're a fairly small country as it relates to capital and people, and we're going up against a lot of other large jurisdictions that have a lot more people and a lot more capital. So like I said, this picture for me is sort of symbolic of the collaboration and the potential that we have when we actually work together across the country. So I'll give you a bit of a sense of the program. The Chi Ventures Accelerator Program is a bit different from other accelerator programs in that every company that participates in the program receives investment. Most of the time when you join in an accelerator program, you join the accelerator program, and then the organizers sort of decide at the end of the program whether you're worth putting money into or not. In this case here, there's really the due diligence is done up front. So we do have you fill out an application. There's a series of online interviews, and then there's also an in-person interview that happens, and then from those in-person interviews, the actual participants are selected. In each cohort, there's probably between 5 to 7 companies that participate each round. Each company is meant to provide at least 2 team members to be present, and so the program itself is 4 weeks. It's spread out over about 3 to 4 months, depending on the time frame. The first 2 weeks are back to back, and they are the Canadian version is hosted here at the Quantum City's Q Hub in Calgary. So that's the picture you're seeing here. This is the cohort that was here in the spring. As an example, this past spring, the cohort started in March and it ended at the end of June. And you heard sort of Sarah talk about pulling technology out of the lab and really exploring its potential and getting it to a mature state. And then you heard David talk about how all the business stuff is the stuff that really you have to start dealing with as a startup founder. So what we're doing, because again, by the time you get to the accelerator program, you have a company, you have a small team. We focus a lot on you building the business and making sure that you're prepared to act as a business owner. So one of the things that we do in this program as a backdrop is we focus on your data room. So if you don't know what a data room is, every company, when you go to look to seek investment, the investor will likely want to do their due diligence. They'll want to understand more details of your company. So, and what you'll present to them is pieces of what you call your data room, which is basically a documentation of your company. a series of folders that have all the information about your company, your finances, your customer engagement, any legal agreements, IP, and all these things. But more importantly, when we're talking to you about your data room, we're actually talking to you about how all the pieces stitch together. So you heard David talk about like product, you heard him talk about finances and trying to get investors in. One of the things, we want you to really understand is that your product development as a startup is tied really closely to your customer development, is tied very closely to your HR, the people you recruit, is tied really, really closely to the budget, the financing. And for those of you who don't know, there's a big difference between finance and accounting. And if what I said is new to you, then this is exactly why these programs like this exist. Because as a business owner, the tendency is to really emphasize the technology. That's why you got into it. That's what you're passionate about. But having a business around it means actually being able to manage all the other pieces as well. So that's a key aspect. And for early stage founders, I think you heard David mention that he was asked to bring on his own CEO. As an early stage founder, that might not be the case right off the bat. But even if you're not the CEO, as a founder of the company and as someone who owns a lot of shares in the company, you'll want to understand the business enough to be able to be dangerous and actually have an opinion and get involved in discussions. So I know when I was watching Sarah and David present, I was writing down a lot of notes because not kind of wondering why my position was after them and how I would react to that. But there's a lot of different approaches to how you can manage a company. But at the end of the day, a company only exists. A company is only a viable business if it's got revenue, if it's processing transactions. You can create a company. Anybody can create a numbered company to hold investments, to as a shell company or anything like that. We can all go and incorporate a company this afternoon. But for that to be a business, a viable business, it needs to have revenue. It needs to have it needs to have transactions running through it. So even though you've built the company on the basis of your technology, you really want to understand what's the business behind it if this is going to go forward. So program-wise, this is really what it is. To give you some context of the cohort that we had here in the spring, there were 5 companies. They were selected from a group of 10 companies that came to Calgary in January for the in-person interviews. And those 10 companies were selected from a group of around 20 to 30 companies that had applied online. Of the 5 companies, when I mentioned international travel, one was based out of Sherbrooke, although the founding team is Sherbrooke, Toronto, Waterloo. There was a second company that was based out of Sherbrooke, although the founding team lives in Seattle and Seoul, South Korea. There was a company out of Calgary. That one was plain and simple. There was a company out of Chicago, and there was a company out of London, and London, UK, not London, Ontario. So right away, just even the 5 companies, the small sampling that we took, that shows you how diverse and how broad the quantum startup space really is. So that's really, really key. So that's something to think about if you're thinking about taking the plunge. There's a lot of travel in your future if that's what you want to be doing. So some of the things you get out of this is each participant gets up to $200,000 in investment. Obviously, with every program, there's coaching and there's mentorship, because learning this stuff, learning the business stuff, can be difficult. There's a joke in the business world that the answer to every question is it depends. And that's really hard for those of us who are technically or scientifically minded, where no, we're expecting an actual answer. But in business, for every single question, the answer is it really depends. And so a lot of the coaching that goes on, a lot of the support that's provided is there to sort of help you build that sense of I want to call it resilience. Sometimes it's agency, your ability to make a decision, but also learn how to ask questions, and really how to learn about the different business aspects. The network is really key. I've mentioned this to people before, that and I actually mentioned this to our startups in our cohort in the spring. The quantum space is still very, very new. It's still very young. You don't know who your boss is going to be in the future. So everything you do from this moment on should be really about building your network. I know Sarah talked about how at QV Studio they decide, they try not to have competing companies in their programming. I can tell you honestly, in our last cohort, we had 2 competing companies, and we let them know that, and we helped them manage it. But what we wanted to do is to help them realize that the reality is one of them was likely to survive and one of them was likely not to, just given the 50-50 nature of that. But that, you know what, they may actually be better off down the road working together. Who knows? You actually don't know. And in a lot of times in the startup world, who you think your competitor is actually your future partner. So that's something to think about. And like I said, because the startup space, the quantum startup space is so very, very new, we really want to support these groups. And something to think about too, we focus when we're making a decision. I know someone was asking Sarah about how they make their selections. By the time you've got a company and you're applying to us, we're looking at it more from an investment lens. And an investor will always say that their top 5 criteria for investing in a company is team, technology, market, and then technology, right? And it's not a joke. It's more that the team is everything, really. So so we actually looking at a lot more. Like I said, we did accept 2 teams in our program that technically had slightly competing technologies, but we really believed in the teams. The teams are the people we were investing in, because they're over the next 7 to 8 years of their company's life, their companies will pivot and meander and change directions. It's really the founding team that will continue on to the end. And I think you saw that a little bit in David's story, where the investors were basically believing in him, and as his company had to navigate the different changes in the market, it was him and his team that kept it going. So we do focus on quantum companies. The typical team size is about 2 to 10 people. Now I know it says in bold here, we only work with teams. The picture of the gentleman that is here on the slide is an interesting story, because he was a solo founder. We actually, after meeting him, we really wanted to help him. And one of the criteria we put for him joining the accelerator is that he had to find a co-founder. So we actually worked with him in that process along the way. One of the interesting experiences that he had was that at the about 3/4 of the way through the program, he realized running a startup was not his thing. He had been to 5 different accelerators prior to ours. And he was telling us how really it's the way that we were presenting running the business to him that he realized he's not up to running a business. He's not up to running sales. And he actually decided, and actually his pitch that he's making on the demo day this day, he's actually announcing that he's winding down the company. He actually works in industry now, but he's taking everything that he's learned, and I think David alluded to this, he's taken everything that he's learned as running a company and now applying that in a business context, right? I believe he works for IBM now. But that's one of the things about the whole entrepreneurial journey. It's never really about failure. It's really about how do you take your learnings and move it on to the next opportunity. So that's something to think about. I personally consider his story a success, because for me, it's better off that his skills in quantum, his knowledge is valuable, but it's valuable only if it's in a place where he feels that he can deliver it in the best way possible. right? So in his case, he'd been running a startup. 5 accelerators had kind of, or 4 previous accelerators had told him, yeah, keep going, keep going. But then after after coming to us, he kind of realized, wow, maybe I don't want to do this. And that's a huge sort of finding for him. He has a young family as well. He had to make decisions. He realized sort of how tough it was going to be. So that's a great story there. And one thing I want to leave you with, I put this on last minute. It's a slide I showed at the hackathon this past weekend that people seem to like, because we keep talking about quantum. Every second sentence we talk about has the word quantum in it. And what I want you to think about is this, which is, at the end of the day, you need a customer, you need someone, you need a company to buy from you. And they're not there to buy quantum, they're there to fix a problem. And this image sort of really captures that. You're not buying the drill. The drill is not the value you're getting. It's the hole that's the value. You needed a hole in the wall. You bought the drill to get you the hole. And that's something to really think about, because we talk a lot about quantum. We talk a lot about the technology. And at the end of the day, when you're running a business, you really want to be able to take a step back and think, what's the value I'm delivering? What does this company need from me? Why are they looking at this? So again, 5 to 10 startups. There's a lot of coaching. We constantly work with them. As an example, this past summer, I know a couple of startups that we know in the ecosystem have been approached by bankers who are proposing some shady or questionable investment vehicles to them. So, we put them in front of experts as quickly as possible on a real-time basis based on what they need. But again, it's all about forming the team and improving you as the startup founding team and as the startup leader. Please connect with us. My colleague Said is also on the call, so you can email either of us. Like I said, the applications for the accelerator are open, so you can click on, you can scan the QR code for that. Otherwise, if you have questions about the program itself, you can email myself or Said. We're based here in Calgary. I didn't mention, we're here. We call this Treaty 7 land here. But yeah, we're here in Calgary, and Q-Connect is also happening in November. So if possible, we'd like to see you out here. And that's it.